So let's talk about the difference from an opportunity and just a perspective in how we're viewing it. And so when a wealthy person, when a rich person looks at an opportunity, they're always thinking from a perspective of abundance, right? Mm-hmm. So role playing here as the rich guy here. Sorry, poor guy.
I'm the poor guy. I leave my money in a bank account,
right.
Or in other, say, government endorsed financial buckets or programs. And what are they paying me versus what inflation is? Never mind opportunity cost and all the other things that we like to talk about.
Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It is Chris and Cole with Life 180 coming to you from Arizona. And today we're going to be talking about a poor versus a rich mindset when it comes to your money. And Cole, this is a pretty fun one, right? Because I think when it comes to money, a lot of people are being held back not because of their ability, not because of their positioning in life, not because of their cash flow or their lack of income or anything like that. It really comes down to mindset. It really comes down to how they view the world, how they show up in different opportunities, how they handle their money. And ultimately, if you look at the back of the shirts, it says, change your thinking, change your actions, change your life, right? And it all comes down to thinking, and our mindset and how we think about our money has the biggest impact ultimately in the success that you're even going to be potentially open to, right? Or have an opportunity for. And so what we're going to do is we just kind of like had this conversation before we started filming this video. And we made a little bit of a T-chart, right? And so what we want to do is go through that T-chart and talk about, okay, here's an opportunity, and this is what a poor person would think, and this is what a wealthy, a rich, a successful person, this is how they would view that opportunity. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Cool,
we're gonna do a little bit of role playing. He's gonna be the rich guy. I'm gonna be the poor guy, and we're gonna offset his mindset versus my mindset, rich guy mindset, poor guy mindset, and we're gonna see where it takes us. We know where it's gonna take you. Set it off, rich guy.
All right, so let's talk about the difference from an opportunity and just a perspective in how we're viewing it. And so when a wealthy person, when a rich person looks at an opportunity, they're always thinking from a perspective of abundance, right? Mm-hmm. So role playing here as the rich guy here. Sorry, poor guy. But like, what does abundance mean? Well, like when I think about it, and this is actually just kind of a gift of mine, I think, I've been told by a lot of people, my wife is always telling me, like, I always think abundantly. And that means I'm looking at it as an opportunity. I'm looking at everything as kind of like the rising tide lifts all ships. I'm not thinking about it from the perspective of competition. I'm not thinking about anything in a negative way. I'm thinking about it as collaboration. I'm thinking about win-win-win situations. I'm thinking about the fact that, hey, if Cole is my competition, I want to get with Cole, and I want to figure out a way that I can help him win, but then in turn we help each other, right? Like, and I think honestly in the financial industry that's what's seriously lacking. I mean, I had a conversation with Caleb Williams the other day from Better Wealth. We were talking, and I love Caleb. He's like my brother, right? Like, and talking to him about what we're doing with Life 180 and what we're building, and in a way, it's weird, and a lot of people are like, you're competing, and it's like, no, like we're gonna collaborate, like, and that is the only way to look at this, to look at any opportunity. If you want to be able to position yourself to be, to have opportunities presented to you, to be able to have opportunities just open up to you in a way that most of the people in your life are going to look at you, and this is what happens to me, is people come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, like, how is this happening? Like, how do you have this business going and then that business going? And, people like Cole and Robert and Matt and like all these people coming into my life, like, how does that happen? It's because I'm open to it. It's because I'm always thinking about how I can help, take what I've done and help elevate it. A lot of people have, in a way, said, like, are you worried about taking on business partners doing something like this? But that's a poor person mindset.
That's a poor person mindset, and so I'll break down the word.
Go for it.
So, it's rich person, abundance. Poor person, scarcity.
Yeah.
Collaboration versus competition. This rich guy is a collaborator. I'm a competitor. I don't look light at business from the lens of abundance. I look at the opportunity as a scarcity mentality due to the fact that I'm out there competing with people.
Totally.
What creeps in are a lot of poor attitudes that will keep you poor and keep you down. We're going to talk about kind of unpacking the idea of what actually scarcity really means. You know, a good example of that is before I was in the financial industry, I was in the food industry for a very long time.
Yep.
Highly cutthroat, highly competitive industry. Margins are very, very slim, high inventory, high payroll. I mean, the costs, the profits, are they there? Can you manage them? Can you track them?
Totally.
You might not be able to. Your accountant will tell you that the balance sheet is accurate. I learned to believe that it's probably not.
Yeah.
Competition is coming for you. Competition was coming for me. I got very, very successful, and one of the worst things that happened to me is I developed a scarcity mindset. So when I speak about scarcity, about 12 years ago, I fell into that trap. I know what scarcity looks like, smells like, and tastes like. Yep. I became afraid. I became very competitive with the people that were looking at a business that I innovated, I created. I had this egotistic ownership over the industry that I created. It was actually in the cheese business, of all things. I was distributing cheese, believe it or not, all around North America. Awesome. People looked at what I was doing and they said, hey, that guy hasn't figured out. I got very, very successful. Let's go do what he's doing. And I thought, you can't do what I'm doing. I've created this. I started this niche or this innovation.
Sure.
Took ownership of it.
Yeah.
Didn't collaborate with my competitors. I went into a scarcity mentality. You know what happened to my business? My business didn't continue to grow.
It contracts.
It contracts.
Yep.
Right? And that's what it was. So we're going to move on to the next rich guy, poor guy attitude.
And that is courage. And so why don't we do it this way? I'll say the rich, and then you can say the poor. Sounds that good. Way I can speak to it, because it was a little weird having to talk about the abundance without being able to say the word scarcity. You know,
and I don't know if you guys have noticed something, but we're actually in person right now.
Yeah,
this is
awesome.
I actually drove all the way down to Arizona to the motherland from Canada.
To the motherland.
And and here we are. And so our commitment to you is good quality content, and
awesome.
Just watch out what's about to happen.
I love it.
All right.
So here's the deal. From a poor person perspective here is fear, and a rich person is courage, right?
I'm fear, he's courageous.
So
I'm poor, he's rich.
So this can go a lot of different ways, but the bottom line is, if you don't put yourself out there and allow yourself to fail and be willing to fail and have the courage to fail, and like, I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's like when we talk about courage versus fear, I always just think about, are you willing to put yourself out there? Are you willing to fail? Like, we talk courage, fear, but it's really failure. How do you feel about failure? Do you kind of try to shy from it, or do you charge towards it, right? And like, so when am I right?
I go out every day trying to fail.
Totally.
I just look at my day and I go, hey, how can I break something?
Totally.
How can I break myself? How can I break a business partner?
Totally. How can I? So what it really comes down to is, like, wealthy people, rich people, that what they do is they seek fear. They seek failure. They don't seek fear. They seek failure. They seek going after things. There's a really good book. It's called Go for No, right? Most people try to protect their egos and try to protect themselves, right? And don't want to hear the word no, because that means you failed. That means, maybe your ego took a hit, maybe because you're worried that they're rejecting you. And what I do is I think about it this way. I think about, like, my only objective is to add value to the marketplace, right? And your opinion, like, if you watch this video, whether you like me and you are subscribed to the channel and you love the content and you're getting value from it and it's helping you, or whether you're one of the people that like to write the nasty comments and don't like me, your opinion of me is none of my business. That's the way I look at this, right? And I just need to have the courage to get past that, to get past the judgments that come my way, that get past, the opinions, and I guess all these things. And I think, honestly, that's what holds people back. People ask, like, how did I build this YouTube channel? How do I do what I do? Like, how do I hit, the record button every single day? And it's because I have the courage to do it. And I have that courage because I believe in what I do, because I have a mindset that I need to add value to the marketplace. And I truly need to, with everything I do, that's the focus. Like, value. I want to give value. I try to engage with every comment. I try to do that, even if it is scary, because sometimes the comments and the videos and I know the heat's going to be brought to me, by people, and they're going to be attacking me, and it happens, and that's what I need to do. So I think wealthy people are willing to see opportunity, because that's all entrepreneurs do, is they solve problems, right? And so you have to have the courage to, once you identify an opportunity and a problem that you can solve, you have to have the courage to step out there and be willing to be ridiculed, to be willing to be successful, to be willing to be a failure, to be willing to be whatever develops after that point in time. I'm a big believer in just-in-time preparation.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
And that's how I live life. You have to, and the most successful people have the courage to go out and do something before they have the answers,
When it comes down to fear, and I'm the poor guy, so I'm going to build on fear a little bit. Chris just dropped some science on courage. When I talk about fear, when I'm thinking about fear, my definition of fear from an entrepreneurial perspective, you're watching this, you're an entrepreneur, you're a founder, you're out there eating what you kill every day. Fear for me kind of goes like this. Don't trust an entrepreneur. Don't trust yourself if you're an entrepreneur, if you haven't failed. If you haven't failed or you can't speak to failure, you might not be trying hard enough. You might be afraid of failure, so you're not in failure. Don't trust an entrepreneur who hasn't failed, or because they're either lying about it or they're not trying hard enough. That's really what it kind of comes down to fear for me, is are you lying about being afraid? Are you lying about failure? Or are you just not trying hard enough because you're afraid of it?
Yep.
So for me, it's about going out and failing. Now I already got that way out of my way. Right? I'm a founder. Have I failed? Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Am I going to do it again? Probably not as likely to fail again because of those beautiful, blissful mistakes.
Right.
It's all cliche stuff.
Well,
right? I was able to learn from it.
Yeah. John Maxwell wrote a book. It's sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but he scratches out the lose and says learn. Right. And he talks a lot about failing forward. So you don't lose, you just fail forward. You learn from that and you grow. Right.
Yeah.
And so the next rich versus poor mindset actually kind of, I think, is an extension of what we just talked about. That's and it has to do with confidence, right? And so successful people, what happens is it's what I call the confidence loop, right? And Brendan Burchard, I learned it from him. He talks on this point a lot, the confidence loop. And that basically says the more confident you become, the more confidence, the more you're able to push your walls out and get more confidence, right? And that confidence allows your skills to build. So you go out and learn more, you perform at a higher level, you meet higher level people, you work with higher level people. And so that builds your confidence because the information you're taking in, the people you're hanging around with, that builds your confidence and that gives you even more confidence. And that just goes into this perpetual infinite cycle, right? And so what I would say is, it goes back to like what we were just talking about before, about the courage, right? That, it's really hard to have courage if you don't have confidence, right? And a lot of people think about that, they would even think about confidence and courage the same thing. It's not. Confidence is a mindset, it's an emotion, it's a feel, and you get it. It's like your own internal comfort. The courage is the action, right? The courage is
That's right.
putting yourself out there, right? Yeah. I know plenty of confident people who don't take action because they're trying to guard their own ego, right?
It's like pseudo confidence.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to understand confidence for me is to understand the other side of confidence. I kind of call it the opposite game.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of personal development, much like you have.
Yeah.
One of the best personal development exercises I have was to sit and stare with another person and play the opposite game. Say one emotion, and then instantly you have to say back the other side of that emotion. Okay. What's the opposite emotion to the emotion that you're feeling? Okay. Tony Robbins, I think in one of his original books that were like this thick, something about a giant, said, there are about 1,000 or more negative emotions, and there's a fraction of that in terms of positive emotions.
Sure.
So playing the opposite of a game is very hard, right? So the opposite of courage is shame and guilt. Yep. If you understand shame and guilt, if you're able to recognize shame and guilt, bottle your own shame and guilt. I did it for myself. I was able to look at what am I ashamed of and what do I feel guilty of as it relates to my business, as it relates to my family. Once I'm able to bottle that, I can then define what's on the other side of it, and it's called courage. So we're going to move forward into the next set of emotions. And this is an interesting one. It's emotions and it's a mindset.
Yep.
So we're now going into poor, me is risk, but also rich guy is also risk. But we look at risk in a different way.
A different facet.
Right? I look at risk as failure. Chris looks at risk as opportunity.
Yep.
Now, when we talk about risk, taking risks in business, when
Yeah.
I take risks today,
Yep.
because of all the things that we've talked about, I see opportunity on the other side of risk.
Totally.
We wake up every day and we take risks. Right?
Totally.
We're taking risks putting ourselves in front of you right now
Totally.
because of what he said about comments.
Yeah, 100%. And I look at it this way, you know, and I talk a lot about risk in terms of money and, you know, just to give clarity around this, because I always say that one of the biggest lies in the financial industry is the younger you are, the more risk you can take. And that is because, you know, only in the financial industry, right? Like, only in the financial industry do we say, hey, your greatest way to be more successful is to increase your chance of failure, right?
Yeah.
Like,
because it's likely you're going to fail and you have more time to recover from it.
Sure. Like, okay, and that's fine. But like, if you handle it a bit more systematically, reduce your risk, or at least take more calculated risks, right? And that's a big deal. And so I just want to make sure that people aren't watching this and getting confused with that comment and just the context of risk and the way we're talking about, right? So like, I wake up, I take more risk, ask my wife, I take more risk than anybody I know, right? I do. Now, I'm a huge whole life insurance fan, which is the most financially secure like fortress that anybody could use in the world. I love it because it is the foundation of everything, right? I don't believe you should invest and look for opportunities outside of your skill sets. You are your own best asset, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to invest in yourself. Your results in your life are going to be directly correlated to you building your own skill sets. Your ability to create cash flow, your ability to generate revenue in one, and it can look a million times different for you than it does for us, and that's totally fine. Maybe it's crypto, maybe it's real estate, maybe it's building businesses, maybe it's something else entirely different. Maybe you fix and flip cars or do something crazy like that. But there's so much opportunity, and it's all based on your skill sets. And so if you are somebody who fixes and flip cars, just to take it totally like random direction, you have to look for opportunities. And like, for me, I would look at that opportunity, and it's not an opportunity. I would just see nothing but risk and failure for me, like, because I am like the least mechanically inclined person anybody watching this video will ever meet. Ask my wife.
You have a pretty sweet Jeep, though.
I do, but
you know how to take the
I have a really
off.
good mechanic.
Yeah, all right.
And I know how to take the panels off, and I know how to do certain things. Like, but that's it. I've done a couple things, and the Jeep has made it fun. But like, I don't want to have to be responsible for fixing it when something breaks, like, because I have to have a guy, right? Because it would be horrible. However, you know, you have to find opportunities that are in alignment with your skills. And if your skills aren't there, you have to build your skills. You have to become who you need to be to get to where you want to go. And I think that's a big thing. And I know I'm going on a tangent here, but
we're good.
But the bottom line is, like, I believe so much in that statement that you have to become who you need to be to get to where you want to go. I watched, I don't know if anybody knows this person, but Lindsay Sterling. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
So Lindsay Sterling is a phenomenal, I got to tell this story. Lindsay Sterling is a phenomenal violinist. She's a dancer. So what she created, a whole genre, a whole industry. I'm going to show you a video of her after. She's unbelievable. So what she does is, so I was at Funnel Hacking Live with ClickFunnels. This is their big event like 3 years ago. And Lindsay was there and did like the final performance. And Russell Brunson interviewed her. And in the interview, she talked about going on America's Got Talent. And she was a really good dancer. I mean, she's like top of the top in the world at what she does now. Created a whole industry, and other people like try to do and replicate. When she was at Funnel Hacking Live, Russell Brunson asked her, he goes, Lindsay, you were on America's Got Talent, and there Simon Cowell and the rest of the judges straight up told you that you sounded like a dying cat and you danced like, I can't even remember, but like some other rodent, or basically, right? And so here's the deal. A lot of people look at that and they go, you know, I obviously am no good. I'm not meant to do this, whatever. And she said to herself, I'm just not who I need to be yet to get to where I want to go. And like, that's a mindset, right? And so she saw that, and this is a little bit of a twist, I guess, but she saw that as an opportunity to force herself to get better versus looking at it and just stepping back and recoiling and you know, shrinking and becoming less than her God-given abilities, you know, and really honing those in and investing in herself and building that skill set, right? And that goes along a lot of different ways. But now she's literally making millions of dollars on YouTube videos right now. You can go check her out. It's amazing. And I think it's really important to understand like your skills, your abilities are different. The opportunities that you're looking for are going to be different from you. But we all are in a position, me, Cole, Lindsey Sterling, where we are in this very moment, what got us here is not going to get us where we want to go.
That's right. Which leads us to the fifth, I think it is now, rich versus poor mindset, where we get into comfort versus discomfort. So here's a challenge for you right now. If you got a pen, does a rich person seek comfort or does a rich person seek discomfort? So do you want to answer that?
No, go for it. I want to hear you go.
You want to hear me go for it?
I want to hear you go for it.
All right. So I'm the poor guy. I guarantee you what I'm doing. This may surprise you. I'm the poor guy. You know what got me poor? Comfort. Seeking comfort. I wake up every day and I try and stay comfortable. A good example of that, Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill is comfortable. It gets you nowhere. Even if you're watching all the financial documents that Netflix has, and there's not many very good ones, all the food documentaries that Netflix has, there's a couple of good ones.
Watch Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru. That's pretty much the only
It's actually pretty much the only thing. We just watch it over and over.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a couple of good Bitcoin videos as well. You can watch those. They'll kind of fill you in on something. Wealthy people stay uncomfortable. Chris just described what Lindsay did. Lindsay got really uncomfortable. She got constructive, honest, may not agree with it, feedback, but she went and did something about it. She went and got uncomfortable. And that's really the advice. For me, the minute I get comfortable or seeking comfort, I have these internal little alarm bells that go off. And I wake up every day because I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. I have big things to do. You have big things to do. We're here to do big things. I mean, we are here to change the world. Have we changed the world yet? Yeah. We're on our
continually,
way. Right?
Not where we want.
Not where we want, but we're going to stay uncomfortable until we get to that point.
And you have to seek that discomfort, right? You have to seek that. You have to realize if you're comfortable, you're not growing. That's just what it is. So you always have to lean into that and try to get uncomfortable, to grow, to become who you need to be, to get to where you want to go.
And you don't have to start. You just start with something. Start with one thing that makes you uncomfortable. That could be the gym. That could be no Netflix and chill. It could be putting yourself on a Netflix diet. I don't know what it is, but as long as you stay uncomfortable, it will start to duplicate itself. Opportunity will start to track you down.
Absolutely. So now let's get into a little bit more of like the money stuff.
Oh yeah, we're in the financial industry.
We're in the financial industry.
Let's talk about some critical money
let's
stuff.
talk how do wealthy people versus poor people look at money? Right?
Good question. So for me, OPM, leverage are two that really comes to mind. I'm the poor guy. Am I leveraged? Heck no, because I don't want to take risks and I don't want to get uncomfortable. Am I using OPM, other people's money? Am I using other people's money? I'm the poor guy. Probably not. You know what I'm probably doing? I'm probably reaching into my pocket and I'm probably spending cash. I'm taking greenbacks and I'm just handing them out to people. Is that what rich people do?
So the way I like to describe this for everybody out there who is looking at this, you have basically Dave Ramsey on one side and Robert Kiyosaki on the other, right? Like Dave Ramsey is all about, like while he, and I don't want that to come across improperly, Dave Ramsey's added a ton of value to the world, right? Like, and his wealth shows it, right?
Agreed.
So he's helped people get out of debt. He helps people regain control of their financial life from that perspective. And it's healthy. But where I think his advice kind of takes a turn and gets dangerous is when he starts talking about cash being king, paying off, I'm not going to get into it all, but his financial strategy is about not leveraging, not using debt, staying out of debt at all costs. That has an opportunity cost that goes with it. Whereas Robert Kiyosaki will tell you, and this is the rich dad, poor dad kind of conversation. If you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, read it, you'll understand. It's one of those things where, listen, if I have the ability to go get money and have a bank lend me money at 3%, and inflation is 6.2% right now, right? And it's going to get worse, y'all. Like, if I have the ability to do that, do you understand that money gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper every single year, while the asset, because of inflation, is going to get more and more and more valuable, right? Like, I'm all about don't take debt on for lifestyle, don't take debt on for stuff like that. But rich people look for leverage. They look to use their assets, use their credit, use everything as leverage to use banks' money, to use business partners' money, to get investors, to find opportunity. Whereas poor people do what?
I spend my own cash. I leave my money in a bank account.
Yep.
And if you think about what Chris just said about consumer price index or inflation,
yep.
if I'm leaving my money in the bank, what's my bank paying me in interest versus what the interest rate is doing, what inflation is doing? Well, my money is deteriorating at a much higher, at a compounded level, at a much higher rate than it's earning. And so not only am I spending my money and am I losing, which is the final point. We were talking about leverage, we're talking about OPM, which is the final point, which is control. Do I have control? I'm the poor guy. I leave my money in a bank account or in other, say, government endorsed financial buckets or programs. And what are they paying me versus what inflation is? Never mind opportunity cost and all the other things that we like to talk about. But am I in control ultimately? And this is the final point that we want to leave you. And I'll start with this, and I'm going to hand it over to Chris. So we just talked about cash. Yeah. Dave Ramsey will tell you that cash is king. Mm-hmm. You hear cash is king all the time. I mean, it's like a euphemism. It's like a pop culture saying cash is king. I know. Right? Cash isn't king. Cash value is king. And that's really important, what we're talking about here, because we're still talking about cash, but we're talking about cash value. What is the best type of leverage? What is the best type of OPM? The one thing that it always comes down to, and we want to be very direct, we want to hit you exactly where it counts. And if you've got to this point in the video, you're getting to the money, which is literally the cash value is whole life insurance. Yep. Properly designed whole life. We want to just hit it straight on with you. Is that once you understand whole life insurance, it's the easiest way to act like a rich person. Do you have to be rich to use whole life insurance?
You don't have to be rich to start. No.
$50 a month, $100 a month. It'll change this.
Yep. Dave Ramsey always says cash is king. He just said it. I always like to say access to capital is king.
Access to capital.
Access to capital. How you use that capital is imperative, right? And it's going to make a big difference in your wealth potential, right? And so when we talk about like what are the options, right? Like how do you get started? Cole just let the cat out of the bag. It's whole life insurance, and that's good.
Sorry,
it's okay. I love you for it. And it's a properly structured, properly designed whole life insurance policy. And here's the deal: we talk about your success is going to be directly correlated to your habits, right? I don't care. Like you don't get looking like this guy, right? Without habits of going to the gym. Yeah. You don't get looking like him, without having habits of eating right. You don't like. All these things, anybody can go eat donuts and look like anything, but you don't want your financial life to look like that. So you want to be really intentional about your habits. You want to be really intentional, ultimately, about your because that's what leads to the results in your life. Brendon Burchard has written a book on high performance habits. Dean Graziosi wrote a book on habits that's amazing that I think everybody should read. And here's what I would say. Why I love my favorite part about whole life is the fact that it forces you into positive habits. Yeah. It builds a system that gives you a decision-making process that forces you to look at that and it builds new habits with your money. Because the biggest thing that's holding people back is that there's no process or no rules in place in your life to make financial decisions. Yeah. And so if you don't have rules in place, then it's kind of like, if I don't know where I want to go, any road will get me there, and then I'm going to be lost, right? Like I'm going to end up in the middle of nowhere, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening with people's money. And so by having a properly designed whole life policy, and it's not just the policy, it's the system, it's the coaching, it's like how you implement and execute with that policy to get to where you want to go on the back end that matters. When you implement and execute these rules that go along with the system, everything that comes with it, that's what's going to get you where you want to go. Yeah. And it gives you control of your money. And when you look through all the list of the things that we talk to, the poor person is going to look at a whole life policy and all the benefits that it gives, and they're going to look at it and they're going to be like, I don't know. Whereas the rich person looks at it and they're like, oh my gosh, that checks every box. That's everything that I want to be able to do with my money.
That's it. I'm going to make one last comment. I'm going to throw it to the man to ask you to do a couple things. Play the opposite game. Think about your life financially. Mm-hmm. Think about your life emotionally. Yep. The two of them are connected. What's the opposite of what you might think instinctually is right? Play the opposite game. We just find some opposites for you. The opposite of abundance is scarcity, courage, fear, confidence, shame and guilt, risk, opportunity, risk, failure. Yep. We're talking about
seeking discomfort.
Seeking comfort versus discomfort, leverage versus no leverage, control versus no control. So there, I don't even have it put to memory yet. I'm going to put those things to memory. I'm going to get uncomfortable, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to do that for you guys not reading the teacher.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I hope you found value in this video. If you did, smash that like button. That way YouTube gets it out to more people. I think people need to hear this. I think in the world we're in, it's extremely important for people to get their mindset around their money dialed in so they can achieve the results that they're looking for. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Click that bell. That way you get notified every single time we launch a new video. Click on the video. We got a great playlist for you at the end here. Click on that. Keep the journey going. Educate yourself. Until next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll see you there.